Oh, okay.
Better up.
Rob and Chris, they're on the air. Yankees, Mets, they're everywhere. From the Bronx to Queens, the diamond gleams. MLB talk, the ultimate team. MLB is the place to be. Rob and Chris with the pitch you'll see. Swinging stacks and stories fly. Baseball talk that's amplified.
And welcome to a new episode of NYMLB Talk with your hosts Rob and Chris as we cover the Yankees, Mets, and all of Major League Baseball. And if you're on YouTube right now, give us a sub. That would be really great for us. We appreciate it. And you can follow us on TikTok and on X at NYMLB Talk. So, Rob, we have a special guest, returning special guest, awesome special guest. Why don't you bring him on?
Yeah, listen, we have Chaunce Hayden for his third appearance. We love Chauncey. Everybody loves when Chauncey's on. He's on to talk about the Mets and to promote his new book, which me and Chris got the advance, and it's great. It's called, there it is, Rebels, Rockers, and Icons, 30 years of music, Q&As. And it's a great book, and we can't wait to start talking about it. But first, Chris, we have to get Chauncey's take on what the hell is going on with the New York Mets.
Yes, well, let's hear it, Chauncey.
Oh my God! I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. I've been a Met fan since 1968. I used to go to the old Shea Stadium when it was brand new. I went to that Shea Stadium when the World's Fair was going on outside. That's how old I am. And what are you gonna? This is how I feel about it, and
Okay.
it's very mixed. The Mets sucked last year. They sucked. What I saw last year after the All-Star break was so maybe the worst of all the years I followed the Mets. I think last year was the worst experience I've ever had. And
Yeah,
who did they have? They had Alonso, right? They had Diaz. They had Nemo. And they sucked. So all these guys are so great. There's so much talent. But what does that mean if they don't win? If they don't win, then I really don't give a fuck how talented they are. So it's very mixed. When they got rid of Strawberry,
Yeah.
right? The Mets were a great team. Like, you felt it when Seaver went. You felt like they were breaking up the boys. They won a World Series. This team from last year, they could really get rid of every single guy on the team. And what difference would it make if they play like they played last year? You know what I mean? You could just take a bunch of players, throw them in a barrel, and just pick out whoever you want, and they'd probably do better than what we did last summer. So I'm heartbroken because I like Alonso. I just like what the guy stood for. He was just a great ball player. But in terms of wins and losses and going to the playoffs, did they really lose anything? I don't know. They had that team last year and they didn't do anything. They did less than anything.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
I agree, and that's definitely, that makes a lot of sense. And to me, it looks like now that Diaz just did not want to return. He wanted to go to LA. I think he probably thinks he has a better chance of getting a ring in LA, nicer weather, and because he didn't give the Mets a chance to add to the deal.
$155 million. Is that what he's getting for 5 years? 155.
That's for Alonso.
I'm sorry, Alonso. Are you talking about Diaz? Diaz
Yeah.
got $50 million, right? Is that $50 million for Diaz?
3 for 69, I think.
Yeah.
Diaz got.
And
okay.
the Mets said that there was wiggle room, so they would have went up, but he didn't even give him a chance. So that tells me he wanted out. Supposedly he was pissed that they didn't come to him about and let him know they were going to sign Williams, and they weren't happy that they fired Jeremy Hefner. But whatever, he's a free agent.
That was a diseased cancerous clubhouse last year too.
Yep.
That team didn't get along. Those guys didn't like each other, and it showed all second half of the year. So, I can see why a lot of them are jumping ship. They don't like each other. I think that was
I wonder
a big
why
part of the
though.
problem.
What was what do you think was the issue there? Because a lot of guys seemed good. Like Nimmo seemed like a good guy. Alonzo, Lindor, like
Well,
was it really just
they say
Soto?
Soto was the cancer, and I could see that. I could see Soto being the cancer. But you're playing in New York. They're all making a lot of money. It's very hard for a team to gel. Do you guys remember the '86 Mets? Were you alive
Of
then? Were you
course.
born?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was at all the games.
Oh,
So
okay. Oh, all right. So you're an old guy too. So
yes.
those guys really weren't superstars. You got a guy like Dykstra, like he was just a tough tobacco chewing, guy, like a regular guy.
Yep.
You could see you working in construction with them. You had guys that battled and fought, and I don't know. You could drink beer with them. They were just there was a chemistry. You could feel it. You could relate to those guys. Now baseball's different now. Sports is different now.
Yeah,
Everybody's
definitely.
so damn rich. They're so rich. You can't coach them. You can't do anything. It's very hard to get a good chemistry on a team anymore because of the money in all sports. Because of the money these guys make, they make way too much money. It's very hard to gel when you got a bunch of billionaires on the field.
Yep.
Yeah, that's another good point. But listen, you don't have to the A's in the 70s, they didn't get along, right? The Yankees in the late 70s, they didn't get along.
They get along, but they didn't make the kind of money they make now. Some of those guys, the Reggie Jacksons, they made a lot. Not a lot for now, but they made a lot for then. But a lot of those guys had to have second jobs. A lot of those guys were selling real estate in the off season. They didn't make that kind of money back then.
Yeah. And
it's
Richie
a new
Hebner,
world.
Richie Hebner, who played for the Phillies mostly, and then he played for the Mets, and he was really bad. He was a grave digger in the offseason, all right?
Yeah, a lot of these guys had to do weird things. Some of them were, they had all kinds of bizarre. Some of them were school teachers, substitutes. They had to take on other occupations because they couldn't survive. It's so different now. Everything's, I actually went to a Met game. I flew to New York this year to go because I had never been to the new City Field. So it's not new anymore, but City Field. And it's just, everything is just bells and whistles and money and expense and sell, merchandise.
Yeah.
It's
Somebody has to pay
sushi.
those salaries, right?
Yeah, it's the experience is just so different now, and it's very hard to relate to these guys. And then they get that kind of money and they put in effort like they did last year, and to have to watch that. I don't know, man. I see these guys getting cut loose, and part of me doesn't really give a shit. I'm like, hey, if they won last year, if they won the World Series last year, like what they did with Billy Ball. Remember when the Oakland Athletics, when they lost the World Series, but they went to the World Series the next season, they cut everybody. They got rid of people. They didn't have any money to afford these guys, so everybody left. That would be heartbreaking to me if the Mets win the World Series last year, or even the playoffs, and they lost these guys. It would be devastating.
Yeah. I don't think they would have, though. I don't think they would have lost. I think that had a lot to do with it.
Well, yeah. I think David Stern. I don't know what's going on with him. He got his own agenda that no one can get inside his head. I don't know. I don't know what he has planned. I don't know. And Steve Cohen. What do you think is going on with him? What is he at? What's up his sleeve?
The
He just doesn't want
casino.
to spend the money.
Right.
He just doesn't.
You're right. He's happy.
He's a multi-billionaire. Like he could pay every player $1 billion and not feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he didn't what? He didn't want to give Diaz $3 million or something.
Nah.
Is that what it was?
That's not true. No, Diaz bolted. He didn't even give them the chance to counter. So, but we'll see what happens. But I want to get to this other stuff. We want to get to your book. But before we get to your book, I gotta ask you a Stern question. All right.
Okay.
Do you think anybody cares anymore if Howard Stern re-signs with Sirius?
No.
I mean,
no. Let me tell you something. If there was a way of finding out the real numbers of who listens to his show, I think would be so shocking, so unbelievably shocking how many people actually listen to Stern now. I wouldn't be surprised if it's around 25,000 a show.
I don't know. Listen, I haven't. When Artie left, that was it for me. So I haven't.
I've never seen a Sirius show. I've never watched one. I in 2006 when he went to Sirius, I went my way and he went his. I never subscribed to Sirius. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I know now he's not. What he is now is ridiculous. Yeah. Like it's almost funny for me. It's funny to watch.
I know.
For me to sit back and see what Stern has become, it's just talk about karma.
Yes.
Like that to me, it's karma. That guy, this is the perfect ending for him, for all the people he made millions, billions off of, and never took care of them, and the way he treated people all those years. To see him go down like this as a clown, I like it. Like I'm enjoying it.
I know that.
I'm enjoying the wig. I'm enjoying he used to be able to pull the wig off when he was in his 50s. He could pull the wig off, but no pun intended. But now in his 70s, you can't wear a wig like that anymore. It looks ridiculous. It looks crazy. He's not even making it gray. He's just going full on crazy mop on his head. And he looks like such a character of himself. It's fun to watch. For me, I just laugh.
Yeah, it is. But okay, let's get to your book, Chris.
Yeah, sure.
Why don't you start this off with Chauncey's book?
The one thing I loved, right? I mean, I've read maybe half of it in the time we got it. Unbelievable, right? Some of these interviews.
Yes. There's a lot of interviews in there.
And the one thing that I've realized, or it's pretty easy to realize it, but the interviews are from 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of put your mindset into those times because
30 years ago. Yeah.
30 years ago, right. And we're in such different times now. So when they're talking, I'm like, no, that's not the way it is now.
Well, that was the whole point that was the whole point of the book.
Yes.
What was that it was not just an interview with rock stars, but it was an historical look back at society.
Yes.
When you read these interviews and the questions and their answers about what was going on in 1993 in America, you forget where we were at that point.
You can't forget,
or the late 90s or early 2000s. And as you're reading the book, you're not just getting well, every interview is different. Some are like funny, some are confrontational, some are all kinds of different types of interviews in the book, depending on who it is. But it's a walk down memory lane to the last 30 years, the decades that we forgot about. You get to relive it.
Very interesting.
That's why I did it this way.
And one of them blew me away when I first read it. Was the James Brown interview. I'm not going to give it away, but just like some of the topics you asked him about.
Did he talk about pooping or something? Didn't he get into laxatives?
I was floored. I was like, everybody has to read this just for this one interview.
The funny part about that interview is, did you ever hear James Brown speak? Like not sing, but try to speak.
Yes.
When James Brown speaks, he goes, and I interviewed him, with those, remember those little, in the old days, we had the little cassette players with the little, cassettes. And you put it on record play, and then I go back to the office, and I used to transcribe it. I'd hit play, I type a couple of sentences, stop, type a few more. I had to sit there for a week and try to figure out what James Brown was saying. It was like another language. It was a completely different language that I'd never heard before. Like,
I was- right,
but all I remember is laxatives. He can't shit. You know? And I remember talking to him and thinking, I can't believe I'm talking to James Brown, the godfather of soul. We're talking about why he needs to take laxatives.
Yes.
It just blew me away. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the Jose came out of nowhere, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, but I forget it's that was big in whatever year. I forgot what year it was.
That was I think in '93 or '4 or something.
Right,
James Brown.
right after it. So it was big at that point, right? We were still,
totally different time when I did that.
Yeah.
And you got to realize that James Brown grew up in Jim Crow. He grew up almost. His parents, I think, were slaves.
Yeah.
So,
crop sharers.
Yeah, his grandparents were slaves. So you're talking to a guy 2 generations removed from that and what he experienced growing up. So you never get an interview like that today because no one like that's around. So to be able to speak to a guy like that who grew up in the South in Jim Crow, real hardcore. They think it's bad. They don't know what prejudice and racism was today. Like James Brown knew what it was. And to get his thoughts on it, it was just awesome and fascinating. And that's a great interview that's in the book. James Brown is one of my favorites in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a great one. Here's one I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Okay, and I love that you did this. Okay, Yoko Ono, right?
Yeah.
I love that you asked her, and I don't want to get into because we want people to buy the book and read it. But you actually asked her something about it, like if she felt responsible for the breakup of the Beatles.
How could you not, though? How many times am I going to sit down with Yoko Ono? Even if she got up and stormed away or told me to go fuck myself, it would have been worth it. Because it was the only chance in my life to ask that question, And I remember the publicist said, no matter what you do, don't bring up the Beatles and breaking up the Beatles. We don't want you to talk about that. And I'm like, don't worry. I swear I'm not going to bring it up. I think it was like my second question. So what'd you bring up the Beatles for?
It was great. And where did you interview Yoko?
There was a cafe. She lived in the Dakota.
Yeah,
where she was with I think she's still there actually.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So there was a little cafe. God, I don't remember the name of it. But we just had coffee in this little spot. Like you would never know that Yoko Ono is sitting outside this little table with me, and we're just having coffee, talking for like an hour. Just talking. She's asking me more questions than I asked her. Like she was such a nice lady. She really was. She was so gracious. She talked about her kids. She talked about what I thought was fascinating, talking about Michael Jackson buying the whole Beatles collection.
Yeah.
That was interesting to get her thoughts on that. There were so many things that she was willing to talk about and not get up and storm away. Another one of my favorite interviews.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
That was great. That one was great. Chris, what other ones you want to talk to Timothy about?
Another great one was the James Hetfield, because
going
back to the time period, right? That was like during the reload era where they cut their hairs.
Yes.
Now they fully sold out, right? And it's fascinating to listen to him then, and then you see him now, and where Metallica went from that point, to where they are now, to this.
I'm glad you guys got that, because that's the point.
Yeah.
See where they were then and who they are now. I think if I did a book of interviews from this past year, it wouldn't have been as interesting, because everybody knows, with social media and everything, everybody knows how everybody feels about everything. There's no secrets anymore. But in the 90s, we just got email. In fact, some of them are before email. So nobody knew. These guys had no way to vent how they felt about things. So when you sat down with them, you got stories that you would never get today. With James Hetfield, when he talked about going deaf, I didn't know that. He has tendonitis in his ear, and he said he's slowly going insane from the ringing in his ears. He can't take it. I don't know since then if he's ever had it taken care of, but back then it was a major problem. But yeah, he was awesome to talk about his life and about the band and metal music. Great guy, great guy.
Yeah.
The one that I was on the fence with putting in or not, but I had to do it was Johnny Rotten, Johnny
Yeah.
for the Sex
Mhm.
Pistols.
Yes.
You know, I was so excited to interview him because I'm a punk rock at heart. Like I was a Clash guy, and I was in
Yeah.
a punk band back in the '80s. So I really wanted to interview Johnny Rotten. So I had it set up, and I sat down with him and in this bar in New York. I think it was called the Holiday. I think it was called on St. Mark Street, or one of those streets in the Village. Anyway, he sits down with me. I sit down, I put my recorder on, and my first question was, "So, John, you've been in music for 20 years. You survived punk rock. You survived Public Image Limited, and here you are. You're still at it." And he looked at me and he said, "Fuck you," and he got up and walked away. And he walked away. So the whole interview is just me asking the one question and him saying "fuck you."
That's that's amazing.
And I put it in the book.
Yeah.
Listen. That was the interview that day. That's what he said, and he got up and left. So that was it.
Joe
That's
Joe wants to know when you interviewed Robert, was that before or after the closet door opened?
Which one? Who?
Rob Halford.
Rob
Rob-
Halford.
Oh, that was after. That
It
was
was
after.
after, right?
Yeah.
But
But even before, I think people
about it.
had their
It was-
suspicions, right?
It
I
was
think so.
right. No, it was like a few months after, so it was fresh.
Oh,
It was
okay.
fresh, you know, like he just came out, and he was going on a tour for the first time as a gay man, and it was still that whole shock thing, you know. And it was back then. Again, it was times were different, you know. You couldn't be gay and be the front man of a metal band. You just couldn't do it.
Right.
So, but here he is. So I got to ask him all about being gay. that was awesome, and he was good. He was good. He talked about it. That if I had to think about the ones who really fought me, there are two to come to mind, and that was Ziggy Marley.
Okay.
Bob Marley's son was a complete douchebag and fought me the whole way through the interview. We grinded it out. Everything I said, he got mad at. No matter what I said, he got mad at. And as you read the interview, you can feel the tension and the hatred that I have for him too. At one point, I tell him, "Look, if you don't answer my question, if you just," because he would sit there and just not talk, and he just put his head down and start smoking on his joint. And I'm like, "Listen, I'm going to get out of here. Like I'm leaving. Yeah, I'm not just going to stare at you. I asked you a question. You're not answering me. You're just sitting there." So you read that in the interview. And the other one was Boy George. Like that was really heated. Because he had, if you remember, he had just gotten arrested, and he had to serve community service sweeping the streets of New York, and so we were talking about his drug addiction and you know if he's still on drugs or not, and because I think that the story was back then he was still taking drugs, and he was doing a play. I think it was called Taboo or something like that.
The musical.
Yeah. I think Rosie O'Donnell was involved in that, or she paid for it. Anyway, he got really pissed off, and the publicist steps in, tried to stop the interview, and say, "That's it, it's over." And Boy George goes, "No, let's have it out. We're gonna do this." And so we fight through the whole interview. That's a pretty compelling one.
Yeah,
there's
that's
a few
great
like
one.
that.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted to ask you about Tom Jones because I got a kick out of it.
I
Because
love that. Yeah, go ahead. Ask me anything.
like it was funny because you were asking about the females throwing their panties on stage.
Panties, bras, yeah, anything.
Yeah, and you know, I saw him in Atlantic City when he was much old. I guess he was in his 60s when I saw him.
Okay.
And this is when I guess they planted women in there to throw panties on the stage.
Did they? Oh, you know what? That's funny. That's funny because it would be weird if they didn't do that because that was his whole thing. It is like all these panties going up on stage. So I could see now if he's performing and they're not wearing panties, it's like, but this is kind of disappointing. Underwear.
How was that interview? How was it interviewing Tom Jones?
That's one of those where I actually was starstruck. I really was. I mean, I remember watching him on the Ed Sullivan Show growing up as a kid. I remember why he had his own show. He had the Tom
Yes,
Jones
he
Show,
did.
and I remember watching that on Sunday nights. Tom Jones, you know. So to me, he was from an era of bigger than life. You know, bigger than life, and an era that's gone, and those people are gone, and he was still there. And at the time I interviewed him, again, it was in the 90s, so in fact, he had performed. Oh, he had just come out with that song Kiss, you know, the Prince song,
Yeah,
right? So, and he had a
right.
hit with it. So he was at the Grammys. They were in New York, and I think he performed it. So he was kind of hot still. He was kind of still, you know, contemporary. And I don't know. I was starstruck. One of the few times, like Tom Jones, and to hear that accent and talk about how he was a little kid, and how his father would take him to the pub in Scotland, in Wales, actually Wales, and he put him up on top of the bar. And he was 6 years old. He would sing for all the drunks in the bar, and that's how he learned how to sing at 6 years old, getting up on a bar in Wales. You know, his dad would drink and make his kid have to sing for free drinks so his dad could drink. But
That-
yeah, that one is one I'm most proud of, because to me, he's when you say icon, everybody's an icon now, but he really is an icon.
oh yeah, he definitely is. Chris, what other ones do you want to ask Chauncey
Another
about?
one that came to mind that I was reading,
Yeah.
the Nikki Six one, because
Oh
that
yeah.
one was like he's in between his marriages, right? They had just broken up with Donna D'Erico, I
Donna,
think,
yeah, Baywatch chick, yeah, yeah,
and
Yeah.
now he's married again. So he was in between that time period, and you could
yeah.
see he was just getting not just getting sober, but he was a few years sober, and he
And
was
so honest, and so
yeah,
honest. That whole band is honest, because Tommy Lee's also in the book,
yep,
and they were
Yes.
all drug addict alcoholics, all of them. No,
hmm
not all of them. Nick Mars was not. He
right,
actually doesn't drink, but uh, Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx, they're lucky they're alive. If you we talk about it in the interview, but if you read his book, The Heroin
oh, I did,
Diaries, he was injecting bleach into his veins.
Yes.
yeah, he
I
shouldn't be
mean,
alive, that guy.
how are they alive? And Tommy Lee was telling me how he was drinking, 2 quarts of vodka a day for years, and then doing heroin and coke, and they were just so open about it. You could ask them anything about it. And can you imagine sitting down with Nikki Sixx, and it's like, ask me anything about drugs you want to ask me, anything, and you get like an hour just to
Right.
sit there with them, and it was for me. It was so fascinating, and I'm so happy that I have that interview, because there's a few interviews I don't have anymore that I wanted to put into the book, but I just don't have the transcripts. I don't have them over the years. Either they got lost in a file or accidentally deleted. The ones that kill me that I did, but I don't have any more to put in the book, was Gene Simmons.
Uh,
Yeah,
That would have
although
been
I did have Ace Frehley. He's in the book, but I
Yeah.
I was gonna
can't
ask you about
find
Ace.
BB King.
another great.
Another great one. Great one. Cyndi Lauper was one. Uh, some of these that are in the past that kills me, that I just don't have. That I would
And
have
you don't
loved to put in the book.
and you don't have the stepping out magazines that they were in. There's no
I
way
got a
you
great
can get them.
story. That's a
Okay.
great question. I'm going to tell you a great story. So, to answer your question, yes and no. So when I first started to put this book together 2 years ago, like I live in Ireland now, and I've
Yeah.
moved around a lot, so I don't have a lot of things. I came here with a backpack and a toothbrush, so I didn't have anything when I came here, but I had a hard drive, and the hard drive had a lot of interviews, but not all of them. I would say 40% I didn't have that are in the book. So I went on Facebook to like a New Jersey or Bergen County group page, and I just said, I put a post up. If anybody has any stepping outs over the years or saved any, please contact me, because I'm looking to find some of my old music interviews. And a week went by and nothing. I thought no one's gonna that. People use it for bird cage liner or to start your fire in your fireplace. And I'm like, they're gone. They're gone. A guy messages me and says, dude, I have like thousands. He goes, from 1990, from
Oh
the
my God.
first one.
That's
He
great.
goes, I used to run ads in Stepping Out when it first came out, and they would be delivered to my house, and I kept them in the garage, and I got piles and piles and piles of them in the garage. He goes, I don't know if I have all of them, but he goes, I have a lot of them. So I flew home from Ireland just for this, and I met the guy, and I bought a giant empty suitcase, and he must have hundreds of Stepping Outs, and he gave them to me for free. Just gave them to me. Brought him back to the
That's
hotel, and all of a sudden I was finding them. I was finding things that I thought I lost forever. I was trying to Alice Cooper, some of them, Sammy Hagar, Richie Havens, Susanna Hoffs, Katy Perry, Slash, Iggy Pop. I had all these interviews that I no longer had, and I had them again. And I remember the
great.
first thing I did. So I put the magazines on my bed in the hotel, and I was so afraid of the luggage getting lost or something happening. I started taking pictures on my phone of every page of every interview in the book. I just spent the whole night in the hotel snapping photos of the interviews. So no matter what happened,
Yeah.
I had these transcripts. I had them. So that was the reason why I could even do this book. I don't think if it wasn't for that guy, I probably would never have done the book, because he had most of the interviews saved in his garage.
That's a great story. That's a great story. And let me you have so many interviews in this book. It's great. But some other people you have, Willie Nelson. How was it interviewing Willie Nelson?
I got a great story with that interview. So again, he's one of those, he's like a Tom Jones kind of guy to me, like iconic, like bigger than life, right?
Yeah.
And so cool. So he calls me up and he says, Chaunce, he goes, so I'm going to do the interview with you. He goes, come out and meet me at the Westbury Music Fair, see the show, and then afterwards come into the tour bus and we'll sit down and talk. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Okay, that sounds great. So I watch the show, go backstage, takes me out to his tour bus, and we sit down. And he had like this tour buses. They have like a little couch with a table. And I sit down. I actually have a picture of it. I should put the picture in the book. He breaks out the thickest, like a cigar-sized joint, and starts smoking it. And I don't smoke pot. I don't smoke any pot. And he starts, and it's a tour bus. No ventilation, and it's like a fog. It's like I can barely see. I'm actually worried that my tape is going to stop turning because of the smoke. Like I'm thinking that it's going to break my tape. There's so much smoke, and he's just smoking away. He's blowing the smoke, and I barely made it to the last question, and I thought I was okay. I knew I had a contact high, but I thought I'd be okay. I stood up and I collapsed. I actually fell down on the floor at his feet, and he had to pick me up and put me on his couch. And he let me sleep there for a few hours because he was staying the night at the theater because he was playing the next night. I slept on his couch for hours trying to recover from Willie Nelson. It ended up in the papers. Page 6 actually wrote about it. And the next day, Willie Nelson called me up. He goes, Chaunce, man, you don't smoke? I'm like, no. He goes, you should have said something. I would have put it out. I said, no, I didn't want you to make you feel like, I wanted you to relax. I didn't want you to, feel like I was making you put out your pot.
He made you relax too.
He almost killed me. He literally almost killed me. And then I got, after hours of laying on his couch, I walked outside the bus and I didn't know where my car was. I literally couldn't remember where I parked my car. So I'm roaming around Long Island looking to see where I might have parked it. I was gone for like 3 days. I was gone from Willie Nelson's spot.
That's great, Chris.
Yeah.
What other ones did you check out
Well,
that you wanted to ask him about?
Well, give me your thoughts about Ace Frehley. I mean, you spoke to him, and now just recently he passed
Oh,
away.
so
Well,
sad,
what are your
right?
thoughts on him? Yeah,
He was interesting. He was so honest about how he felt about his former bandmates, and he did not like them. It was funny after he died, all the tears, and we lost our friend. Ace Frehley had nothing good to say about Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley.
Mhm.
He if you when you read the interview, if you read it or if you're going to read it, nothing good to say about them. Told them
Yeah,
they were totally overrated as guitar players, that he carried the band, that it was all on his back, that Paul Stanley cannot play the guitar at all, a total poser. He was very bitter, and I think he was bitter to the day he died, because they were publicly calling him an alcoholic, even
Right.
when he was sober for like 12 years. And they would, anytime they did an interview and his name came up, they would say he's a drunk, or we feel bad for him, he has to get clean. And he's like, I've been fucking clean for 12 years, I don't drink, I don't do the. Of course, now I think it's come out that he kind of was still drinking. That's why he fell and hurt his head.
yeah,
But at the time when I spoke to him, he claimed to be sober, and he resented them for painting him that way. And he was the band, like his guitar playing was Kiss, and,
yeah,
and he was pissed off that he was so pissed off that he talks about not even at the Hall of Fame the induction, he didn't even go on stage with them.
Right.
He stayed. He
yeah,
stayed. He was there, but he sat in the back of the room and wouldn't get up on stage with them. Refused.
yeah.
And then I didn't understand it. Like they didn't want to perform together. They should have, just for that one night. Give the fans one more
We
song, two
we
more
talk
songs.
about it. Read the
Right.
interview. We discuss
Yep.
it.
It would have been
It all
great.
comes up.
One more performance would have been great. But
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree
It's
with
in the
that.
book.
Now, Chauncey, I liked what you were asking David Lee Roth when you asked him about Sammy Hagar, what he thought of him, and David said boring. I love that.
Well, a great story with David Lee Roth. So I had requested the interview with him, and in those days with Stepping Out, we had to send the cover in because the cover was color and it was glossy, but the inside was newsprint.
Yeah, I
So the cover
remember.
had to go 2 days early to the printer to be printed, and then we would send the inside, and then they'd staple them together. That's how they printed back then. So David Lee's publicist agreed to the interview. So we designed the cover, sent it out to get printed. There, were like something like 70,000 covers of David Lee Roth. The day of the interview, his publicist calls me and says, "Yeah, I got bad news, man. David's not going to do it. He changed his mind. He's not going to talk to you."
oh no.
We paid for 70,000 covers,
Oh.
and there's no one left to do. So I had to think fast. I was known for doing. I was such a son of a bitch. I was so good at doing this kind of thing. So I thought for a second and said, "Hey, that's no problem." He said, "You sure, man? I feel bad about it." I said, No problem." He goes, "Because I do a gossip column from Scores in New York. The strip club where David hangs out all the time. Well, I know all the girls he's banging. So what we'll do instead, because he's on the cover, we'll just do like 10 of the girls that he bangs, and what he does and what kind of sex he likes and what he's like having sex with and all his weird habits. We'll do that. That's fine. In fact, I'd rather do that than do the interview with Dave." And the publicist goes, wait. Let me call you back. 10 minutes later, David Lee, "Hey, Chaunce, when you want to get together? Let's meet tomorrow. We can bang this out."
Yeah,
That was easy.
Yeah, I said, "No problem, Dave. Yeah, I'd love to. Let's do it. Let's do it."
that's another great
Very
story.
smart.
What about Roger Daltrey? I mean, that's another icon. Tell me about interviewing
Another
him.
icon. That's why in the book I say, rebels, rockers, and icons. He falls under the icon category. So what was great about him? First of all, he's the nicest guy in the world. He's so nice. I wish he was my dad. Like, he's such a nice guy. I told him I saw him play at Shea Stadium in
Me too.
1981.
I
Were you
saw
there
that.
with the Clash?
Yep, with the Clash and David Johansen.
Yes, I was there. And it
Me
was so
too.
loud. I told them that after the concert, I had to go to the emergency room because there was like a chainsaw on my head and it wouldn't stop. And I thought I had damaged my head, my ears. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Chaunce. I'm so sorry. Are you okay now? I didn't, I didn't mean it." He was so apologetic. And then he gets into, and we're having such a great conversation. And he gets into how he almost died 6 months earlier. I'm like, what? He goes, he had a tumor in his stomach. He had the size of a grapefruit. And,
Wow.
and he had these stomach pains, and everybody was telling him, "Oh, it's stress, it's stress." It turned out at any second, this tumor, this grapefruit-sized tumor, could have burst, and he would have bled out, and it could have happened at any moment. So he gets into all that with me. He was such a fascinating interview and such a great guy. Just talking about rock and roll with Roger Daltrey and grapefruit-sized tumors in his belly. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, you know?
No, and listen, I got to tell you something funny too. I saw him. He played Scrooge in A Christmas Carol at the theater in Madison
That's
Square
what the
Garden.
interview was for.
Right. He was talking. Right.
The
Yep.
interview was to
I
promote
saw
that
him.
show. I
Yeah.
saw him. Yes. Yes.
And he was a funny Scrooge, because before that I saw Tony Randall do the first one, and he was a serious Scrooge, and Roger Daltrey was a funny Scrooge, and that's why I brought it up. That's
At
why
the Felt Forum, right?
Yeah.
That's Square Garden. That theater.
he
room,
was great. We were cracking up. So that's another good. Listen, you have so many great people in this book. Chris, go ahead and throw something else out there.
Joe Strummer. Joe Strummer is a great one. From the
Okay.
Clash. So that, first of all, that's my favorite band, and he's my rock idol. So of all of them in the book, if you had to ask me what was my favorite, I wouldn't even think twice. It's Joe Strummer. But first of all, it was a hard interview to get. He wasn't doing a lot of interviews, and I actually interviewed him for Penthouse magazine, and so he met me in a hotel, and the hotel was in Michigan. He was doing a show with the Mascarellos in Michigan. I hope I said that right. I don't think I did. But anyway, we met in this hotel, this little like Holiday Inn on the side of the road, and we sat there, and all he wanted to talk about, and when you read the interview, you'll see it, was sound quality today. That CDs, and digital is the worst thing that ever happened to music. That they did a study in England Joe Strum is getting into all the specifics of this, that they did a study in England. They took cows and they played a record on a record player, and the cows gave double the amount of milk to a record player playing records than they did with high digital music, the same song, high digital. He said they gave almost no milk. And he said, "Chaunce, don't you understand what I'm trying to tell you? You're not understanding what I'm saying. Do you get it? Do you get it?" And he was like shaking me. He goes, "Do you understand?
Oh my
Do you
God.
understand what I'm saying to you?" And I'm like, "Joe, I understand. You're saying vinyl's better." He goes, "Yeah, but it's more than that. It's more than that."
Milk.
I'm talking about the milk and the cows and the vinyl records. Do you understand what I'm saying? The cows, the milk, and the vinyl record. It's a great interview. It's my favorite interview in the book.
I enjoyed it because, like you, The Clash is one of my favorite bands.
Oh, and he died too young. He died.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. He died. Was he 52 or 51 when he died? A
Could
heart
you-
attack?
Yeah, could you imagine if he, with digital, if he saw all of this stuff now, he would go crazy.
No, in fact, I think that's why he died. I think he was meant to get out of Dodge. Like I couldn't picture Joe Strummer in the world today, period. I couldn't picture it. He did his thing. And I don't know if you saw in the front of the book, I have a big pullout of him.
Yep.
There's a 2-page spread where he talks about the Clash. And I thought it was such a great quote. He said, "Look, we had 5 years with the Clash. We came, we did what we had to do. We got our message out, and then we were gone."
Loved
He said that was it. And I love that quote from him.
It's great.
So, it's in the front of the book. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is a great one. Chris, go ahead. You wanted to ask him about someone else.
Yeah, the one that with Lisa Marie Presley, right?
Yes.
And the way
yeah.
she explained why she moved to England and all of that. And she, like, a lot of that you could put in this day of what's going on with everything, right?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
she was talking, and that was what, 20-ish years ago or whatever it was.
When
I
did I
forgot
do
what year.
I did her. When was that? I think that was in
07?
that was in 2007. I think
I think, yeah.
2000. Am I correct? No. I think no. It was, what am I saying? It was after that. I think that was. Now I have to go back and look, but I think that was like 2013. Or maybe I'm
Oh,
wrong. Maybe it was. No, maybe it was 2007. No. It was 2013. It was in the early after 2010, because I had already gone to Metropolis Nights and I did
okay.
it for
Oh, yeah.
Metropolis Nights, not stepping out. So it had to be like 2011, 2012, around there, I believe.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Okay. You're right.
I have to go back and look. But anyway, that was a great interview, and she talks a lot about what it's like to be the daughter of the king, and we became such close friends after that we talked all the time up until when she died. She
Yeah.
and I were pretty close. That her death really affected me because we hit it off. Like we became friends after that interview.
Another one, she died too young.
Another one. A lot of them are dead. I'm looking at the listing. How many are dead?
A lot of them.
Dan Fogelberg, he's dead.
David Johansen,
He's dead.
Ace Frehley. I mean,
Dead.
a lot of them. It's unbelievable. All right, so let's talk about Slash. How was that interview?
Oh, he was great. He talked about what was great about him, and he falls under the category as rocker. I don't know if he's an icon as much as he's a rocker. Like if you think of a rocker, a rock and roller, who's more of a rock and roller than Slash? Like he's the poster boy for rock and roll.
Yeah.
And what he got into with me, I'm so happy it's in the book. I thought he was clean, and when you read the interview, he starts telling me no, he's hardcore drug addict now. Still, like in the interview, he's like, man, I got problems, and it gets all into his personal issues with drugs, and he doesn't sugarcoat it, and he's very honest and open about. He's got a drug problem, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe you're telling me this. And he got really into it. So that's a great interview. Slash, yeah,
you really got these you really got these people to talk, and really you asked them some questions that no one else would ask them, and they answered them, most of it. It's great.
Well, you know what, you have to remember one thing, and looking back, this really made the interviews compelling. At the time, I was also a gossip reporter for Page Six.
Yeah.
Right, and I was doing Fox News and CNN, and I was doing all these TV shows. And this is when gossip was king, right? TMZ was real big. Gossip was everything. There were no rules. There was no such thing as political correctness yet. Gossip ruled. And I made a lot of money off gossip. So when I would talk to people, in my head, I was thinking, what can I ask them that will get me on the front page of the newspaper? I wanted them to tell me something that they never told anybody else. And I was thinking of a headline while I was writing the questions down. And whether that, that's right or wrong, it made these interviews compelling, because I went down roads with these people that a normal journalist wouldn't have done. He would have asked them about the project they were promoting, and that would have been it. It would have been like a 15-minute interview about tell me about your new album, what inspired your songs. It would be that kind of thing, where maybe I got something like that at the end of the interview, like the last question. All through the interview, it's more like, hey, is it true that, you were caught with a hypodermic needle in a bathroom 2 weeks ago, at China Club in New York? And we went down all these dark roads with these guys, and some of them were very, I don't know, they were very talkative. Like a lot of these guys, I think, found it refreshing to have that kind of conversation. I think they were so sick of promoting, to have a real conversation. Mm-hmm. These guys, they're rock and rollers, they're musicians. you don't get this from actors, right? You definitely don't get it from sports figures or politicians. But
Yeah.
when you interview a musician and a rocker, they're more prone to tell you what they feel. They're kind of crazy. A lot of them, they're just little nuts. And so in this book, a lot of these guys get into things. If you're willing to ask them, they'll answer you. Like I was saying with Boy George, talking about drugs. The publicist was there for that interview, jumped up and said, "That's it, it's over." And Boy George said, "No, no, let's keep going. Come on, bring it on, bring it on.
Yeah.
I'll answer your question."
It's like he wanted to open up to you.
Yeah, it's like throw it at me. He goes, "Throw it at me." Oh, and the other great one I love in this book is Ted Nugent.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God,
There
the
you go.
Ted Nugent
That's a good one.
conversation is off the rails, off the rails. Talking about guns, guns and eating meat and hunting his own meat, and and you know what? Today, Chauncey today would agree with everything he said, but Chauncey then, I probably was more liberal than I am now. Now I'm like super MAGA conservative, but back then I was probably a little liberal, and so I'm arguing with him about guns and killings and Columbine, and mass shootings and AK-47s. And to hear him defend it is just great. It's great. We have such a heated conversation, but he sticks with it. It's a heated conversation, and we're fighting, but no one goes anywhere. We just keep going back and forth, and it's probably the longest interview in the whole book because
But you know what? That's what this country needs.
Dialogue.
Right, dialogue. Just okay. You agree. You believe in something. Someone else doesn't believe in that, but they have their own opinion. So that's good. Have a discussion now.
That's
right?
part of the great part of this book.
Right.
Another great one. I feel like I'm promoting the book too much, but
You're not. You're not.
But now you're making me think about it.
It's great.
Joan Jett. So Joan Jett's in the book, and this is what I love about the Joan Jett interview. So, do you guys remember a guy named Dan Lorenzo? Do you know who he is? He used to be he used to be in a band called Hades, and he was a sales guy at Stepping Out for years. Anyway, so I'm going to interview Joan Jett, and as I'm walking out the door to go meet her, this guy in my office says, "Oh, I got a great question to ask her." What is it? He goes, "She did a Rolling Stone interview a couple of weeks ago, and she came out as a lesbian. You should bring that up and ask her about it." I'm like, "Are you sure? She said she's a lesbian in Rolling Stone." He goes, "Yep, absolutely." So, all right, that's a good topic to discuss. So I'm going to put that in there. So I meet Joan Jett, and we're talking, and it's going great. We're having a great conversation. And all of a sudden I say to her, and you'll see this in the interview, I say, "So, you said to Rolling Stone magazine that you're a lesbian." I go, what made you come out? And she looked at me and said, "What the fuck are you talking about? I never told anybody I'm a lesbian."
Oh,
you want to talk about? You think I'm pale? You think I'm pale now? Like I turned the color of white that no one has ever seen, like translucent.
Right.
And she's like, "Dude, I've never discussed my sexuality with anyone in my entire life. I can't believe you even said that."
Wow.
And I'm like, I just remember saying to her, like, "Can I just take the boot out of my mouth now?" I go, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Someone told me you did, and and then from that we went on to S&M and spanking and whippings and beatings, and how she's into all these dark fetishes and she wanted to know what fetishes I was into. So the interview from that question, the interview took a whole nother turn into this dark dungeon S&M world that I probably said too much. I probably should have edited it out of the book, but it's all in there.
I like the book is so honest. I love it. It just the questions you ask, they answered. Like you said, I agree with you. You're gonna get more out of musicians than actors, definitely than sports people. I mean, and you had a lot of great sports stories. Your first appearance,
I had categories. You have to pin me down to a category, and then I go into my computer banks inside my brain, whatever I can still remember. And there's all these stories per category. You know who was? Another great one was. When I say icon, so here's an icon: Robbie Krieger, The Doors.
Yeah.
The Doors, man, the Doors. Robbie
Um,
Krieger. I was like, oh my God, he's still alive too. He's still alive. Robbie Krieger, and to talk firsthand about Jim Morrison, what Jim Morrison was like, and what it was like touring with him, and all the crazy shit. That one was one that I was starstruck. Like because I'm a big Doors fan. I'm like, I
yeah.
can't believe I'm talking to Robbie Krieger, the
I
Doors.
it yeah, it's like you're just you sometimes you just had to been in awe and stunned.
Sometimes
It's
I was, yes. Sometimes I was. I know the Bacon Brothers. So the Bacon Brothers are the first interview in the book,
yes.
and that's funny because at the time I was suffering from panic attacks. I had panic attack disorder. I couldn't leave my house. I couldn't walk outside my front door to get the mail. That's how bad it was without my getting palpitations. So I had to drink to leave the house. I literally had to have a 6-pack of beer to go into New York City. I could not drive over the George Washington Bridge. And I remember the first time I went to interview Kevin Bacon and his brother, they were at NBC Studios. I don't know if they were doing Saturday Night Live or something, but I was supposed to meet them over there. And I parked the car on 7th Avenue on a side street. And at the time, I couldn't even look up at tall buildings. I couldn't cross the street of 7th Avenue. I couldn't do it. I panic attacks. So I was drinking. I got out, parked my car in a garage, got to the corner, and the light was taking too long. And I had a rush of adrenaline. And I got back in my car and I drove home. And I called Kevin Bacon up and I said, my wife's having a baby. I got to get home. I wasn't even married. I wasn't married. I said, my wife's having a baby. I'm sorry. Can we reschedule? I got to go home. And so I went home, and a month later he rescheduled it, and it was better because it was in the village, and I didn't have to go down into Midtown, and I was able to get it done. But whenever I think of that interview, I think of the panic attack and having to get drunk to try to see them, and even that didn't work. And I remember saying, "My wife's having a baby."
You came up with a lot of great things.
How did you get over that eventually?
Lexapro. About 20 years ago or so, a doctor said, you know what? He goes, they have a new drug out, and it's called Lexapro, and it works miracles with people that have what you have. And I said, I don't want to take any drugs. I don't want to take Lexapro. I don't want to change my personality. And the doctor looked at me and he said, do you really like your personality that much now?
Yeah.
He said, do you like that guy that needs a 6-pack of beer to get the mail? Like, that's the guy you want to stay? and he was right.
Know. That's a good guy.
Like, he goes, you're really hanging on to that personality, huh? Guy can't go to a movie theater to watch a movie, can't get on a plane, can't drive around the corner to get a gallon of milk. He goes, you want to stick with that? He goes, I'm giving you a pill that makes all that go away.
It makes the job kind of hard to do too.
Right? Yeah, it was affecting my job. So I started taking Lexapro, 20 milligrams, and to this day I still take it. I don't even know I couldn't imagine not taking it, but it got rid of all my panic attacks. It saved my life. Wow. One day I could do a show on Lexapro because there are a lot of people that suffer from panic attacks, and they needlessly suffer because Lexapro works and it makes you back to normal again. It takes 2 or 3 months to really kick in, but I'm as normal as I'm able to be.
That's
I can travel. I travel over the world now.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, it's no problem for me.
That's great. Okay, listen, we have to do a quick plug for something else. Since me and Chauncey are both from New Jersey, Chris, put up that charity. Okay, listen, it's Christmas time. It's the holidays. New Jersey Food and Clothing Rescue is my friends, Renee and Phil. They're nonprofit. They help a ton of people in New Jersey. They feed the hungry. They clothe the homeless, toys for kids, everything. Their info is down right over there. If anyone could give during this holiday season or at any time, it'd be great. They do a great thing. I mean, hours and hours and hours, and they work full time and they do this. They're just amazing people. This is a great charity. If if anyone could give, if you looking for a charity this holiday season or after the holidays,
I'm going to go to the website. I'm going to go and donate.
That Chauncey, we appreciate that. They're New Jersey people. This is Bergen. Yeah, they're in Bergen County, and like I said, the number's right there. It's New Jersey Food and Clothing Rescue. Great charity.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thanks, Chauncey. We appreciate that. So Chauncey, the book. We got about a minute.
All right, wait. I'll tell you my last quick story in 30 seconds.
All right, we got. Go ahead.
Ready?
Go. You got.
Steven Van Zandt from Bruce Springsteen. Do you know why he wears a bandana on his head?
Why?
Nope.
I know.
It's in the book. We talk
Yes.
about it. He was in a terrible car crash, and he went through the windshield of a car, and his entire head is completely scarred up and deformed, and that's why he has to wear that do-rag. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I read that in the book, but yeah, I'm glad that you said that. That's
I'm sure he's not, but
yeah, but that's okay.
He's got to sell books.
I'm so happy to tell this story.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you know what? He is. He's still alive, right? He could have died.
He's still alive. Yeah,
exactly.
I'm sure.
All right, so
Silvio.
Before we let Chauncey go, I just want to say tomorrow night Chris will be on at 9 p.m. I'm not going to be here, but he's going to do a Yankee show with our friend Madison. So you guys don't want to miss that. And Monday at 3 p.m., he's a doctor. He's a comedian. Neil Berliner is going to be on, and we're going to talk some more Mets with him and see what he thinks about what's going on with this off season. So we got a couple of good shows coming up for you guys. Tomorrow night's all Yankees, so Met guys, you still can tune in. Chris has to suffer.
I'll get some Mets in, just like on a normal day we get Mets and Yankees in. So I'll get some Mets in. Trust me, there's a lot of stuff going on with the Mets.
Yeah. May I say that
yes.
My book will be on Amazon in probably another 2 or 3 days. So if you go to Amazon and just type in Chaunce Hayden, you'll see all my books, but you'll see Rebels, Rockets, and Icons, and you can buy it as an ebook. I think it's only like $7 as an ebook, but as a coffee table book, it's $30, which is pretty good for a very large coffee table book.
And it's a great, like I said, I'm like 3/4 done. It's great. I love it. I read it for a couple of hours today.
You can't put it down. No, I'm telling you.
I know.
People who pick this book up, they're not going to be able to put it down because it just keeps going and going and going. And it just takes you on this wild roller coaster.
Yeah. So thanks, Chauncey. We will plug this tomorrow. Chris will plug it. We'll both plug it on Monday. And, we'd love to have you back after this off season to talk about where the Mets are headed.
Oh God! Okay.
Here's the link right here, right?
Yes. That's is it on Amazon now?
Yep.
Okay,
this is on Amazon.
All right, great.
Okay, I don't know. Can you buy it now? Does it let you buy it?
It says buy now.
I think the ebook. Yeah, that's the ebook. I think you can buy it now very cheaply as an ebook right now. What does it say? $6 or $7? It's a little, I can't say.
Yeah,
but yeah, you can buy the ebook right now. I guess they approved it already, so that's cool.
Yeah. So listen, buy this book. You're gonna love it. Chris loved it. I loved it. It's awesome. And you heard all the stories from Chauncey. We can't wait.
Talk all night. We can just keep going and going.
Yes, definitely. We can't wait to have you back again, Chauncey. But thank you very much.
It's time for breakfast for me now.
Yeah.
I'm in Ireland, and the sun's coming out, so.
Listen, thanks for getting up early for us. We really appreciate it.
I didn't get up early. I didn't go to bed yet.
You can go. All right. Thanks for that, then. That's great. All right. So,
guys,
we'll catch everybody tomorrow. Thanks, Chauncey.
Take care, guys.